We tend to think that the police are for our safety. But what if they are ones creating unsafe environments for people? What are we supposed to be doing then? Today, we are going to talk about such policemen who have brought adverse, threatening conditions to the people they were supposed to help. Beginning with Daniel Holtzclaw, resident of Oklahoma. Daniel was known to be a respected officer who determined to serve, but later turned out to be a horrifying, corrupt, sinister, and demoniac predator who sexually harassed and raped multiple women.
Crime of rape in the first degree and punishment is set at 30 years.
Coming from a judicial background where his father served as a lieutenant, Daniel was somehow destined to be in the forces. Although, having a keen interest in sports when his dream to pursue football didn't seem to work out, he turned to his backup and joined the Oklahoma City Police Department. But this career, too, seemed to not be the destined one for him when many victims decided to voice their experiences and come out against the horror persisted by Daniel. He used to precisely choose his victims by targeting on their vulnerabilities, as he knew it'd be easier to do that. He was later found guilty for 18 charges, sentenced to 263 years in prison, and a $500,000 bond was raised against him. Whilst Daniel broke into tears, victims were relieved from the extreme pain they suffered. Moving on to Michael Dodaro, an officer from Edison, New York called Michael Dodaro was known for his discipline, determination, and zeal as an officer. Joining the force back in 2003, he was constantly praised for his efforts in the field, and his flourishing career reached its peak when within 8 years he was promoted to the post of a sergeant in 2011. But 2017 unfolded his true colors and unearthed the hidden mysteries of Michael. He was found liable for tampering with witnesses and pleaded guilty for the federal charges raised against him. Eventually, in 2019, he was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison, where he pleaded for leniency, considering his past records which were clean and his ambition to be a good father to his children in the coming years. But even after that, the judge remained unswayed. While delivering the sentence, Dodaro's demeanor remained unchanged, which might be considered as his lack of realization as to what he had done and what was happening to him as a consequence of it. The third count is the case of David Carrick.
The influence of men like you in positions of power stands in the way of a revolution of women's dignity.
David is a former police officer in England who was reported to be having multiple abusive relationships with different women he met on dating apps. Having the power of authority took over his senses and made him lose the understanding of right or wrong. Rather than bonding and having a lovable relationship, it was filled with mental and physical attack. He used to be over-possessive, dominant and abusive, and at times even depriving basic needs like food for his partners. Although numerous complaints were filed in his name, no specific actions were taken since he held a position of certified police back in 2017. But after being reported for physical misconduct, David's game could no longer continue further as he got suspended from police. He was taken to court where he pleaded guilty for 49 charges, which were constituted by over 24 physical misconduct charges. The terror established by David shocked the public, and there was a widespread distrust in the trustworthy police force. He was sentenced to 36 life sentences with a minimum of 30 years term. This must give you a hint of the depth and severity of his actions. At number 4, it is the Baltimore Gun Trace Task Force. The 8 police officers who constituted the Baltimore Gun Trace Task Force were accused of exploiting their power, which came from the authority given to them. It came to be known that the police officers were actually looting money from individuals using their identities as officers. Apart from this, they even fabricated police reports and distributed drugs. It breaks our heart to think how disturbed the victims might have been, as it was reported that they stole $1 million from an individual. All the 8 officers were found guilty for distribution of drugs and racketeering. This case highlighted the loops and the systemic issues within the police force and how people bestowed with power can easily misuse it for their own benefits. The 8 men were finally convicted for the crimes they committed, and their sentences varied based on their individual involvement in the crimes. Ranging from 7 to 25 years, it was made sure by the jury to give the most appropriate sentence to all the offenders. The leader is said to not be released any time before 2030. The conclusion of this case could be seen as a warning for anybody in power thinking of misusing it. Next in the line is Eric de Valkenaer. Highlighting the racial profiling in the Western country, this case sprung up the threat to people of colored race in Kansas City. Eric found himself as the center for the fatal attack on Cameron Lamb in 2019 in the United States. It struck suspicion which led people to question the systemic racism embedded in the law enforcement personnels. During a routine traffic incident, Eric found himself with his spouse in front of a red pickup truck. They entered the backyard without any legal warrant, unaware of Cameron behind the wheel of the truck, who was slowly reversing it, and the irresponsible officer shot a completely innocent civilian to death. Eric was convicted in 2021 of second-degree involuntary manslaughter and armed criminal action in the fatal shooting of Cameron Lamb in November 2019, for which was found guilty.
Class E felony of involuntary manslaughter in the second degree. I sentence you to a term of incarceration in the Missouri Division of Adult Institutions.
He was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but remained free on bond while his criminal appeal worked through the courts. Lamb's life was tragically cut short, leaving his family in grief, and his community searching for answers. At number 6 is Daniel Saylor. Once hailing as the guardian of the city of Florida, Daniel's fall from glory was quick as he was found entangled between a web of accusations for corruption and deceit. Even after patrolling the streets with full determination and admiration for his duties, his tenure was crushed by an unexpected storm. Starting from the rumors of a palatial mansion being constructed violating the law, Daniel had to embark upon his noble quest of truth and justice, but powerful figures stood in his way, blocking him. But Daniel managed to reach the core issue and was ready to expose it to the world. But only after this we come to know that he misused his badge. Even though Saylor came to realize his mistake soon, the jury couldn't be swayed just because of that. A period of 8 years in prison awaited him. At last we have David Oliver, a former police chief of Brimfield Township.
No contest.
After Oliver's plea, the judge found him guilty on all counts.
Who was more of a local celebrity because of his humorous posts and comments on social media, which delivered his brighter side to the public as he managed to find light in the darkest corners of situations. Who knew there would be demons of himself that would surface soon? Crystal Castelline was an ambitious female officer who served under Oliver. She joined the forces with the aim to bring chance and evolution in the society. But little did she know, she'd be the victim of workplace harassment. Castelline's accusation on Oliver sent shockwaves amongst the people who admired Oliver as a person spreading jokes and positivity. She explained how he used to grope, trap and force her physically into various positions, pressing his body against hers. Oliver pleaded no contest and was found guilty in Portage County Common Pleas Court in January 2016 of assault, unlawful restraint, attempted theft in office, and unauthorized use of property. He was placed on probation for 2 years and ordered to surrender his certificate to serve as a police officer in Ohio. These cases show us how unreliable the human race has become. Be it police officers or any other official, trusting another human has become extremely difficult. What do you think about the shocking cases we just discussed? Let us know in the comments, and wait for us till we come up with the next video.